for the opportunity to either volunteer his time or get paid cheaply in order to build his portfolio.
Gotcha.
And then my best friend's brother and sister-in-law, that's what they do for a living.
Okay.
They build software and apps and all sorts of stuff. So I just kind of reached out and said, hey, not sure what the details are.
Are you available?
Are you available? He's fantastic. You're fantastic. So we'll see.
Okie dokie. Yeah, looking at all of that was the old one. What about right now? Am I live right now? Tell me the truth.
It is 9:31.
Right. Well, why isn't it coming up on the channel homepage? How recently added?
Who knows? I could just be sitting here staring off into space
Well, let's.
on YouTube.
It's true. Well, I got it on home screen. They can hear you. Oops, I forgot to mute the channel. So they can hear us talking.
Hi, everybody.
But now we'll turn on the camera so that they can see us. There it is.
Yay, we're here.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
You can go ahead.
I can go ahead.
I'm
Alrighty.
gonna keep-
All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Slow Flow Yoga. Today, we are going to be using some toys and some tools. So a yoga strap will be beneficial to you. If you don't have a strap, one of my favorites is to just use a rolled up towel, a long sleeve shirt, something of the sort to help support various poses. We're also going to be using our yoga blocks, so make sure you've got those. And then we are starting and ending class laying on a rolled up blanket or a soft bolster. Not a hard foam roller, but something that is a little more soft, a little more cushioning. My favorite is to just take a blanket like this and I just roll it up. You want it rolled fairly tight. Once you get it rolled, you're gonna place it on your mat lengthwise. Sit at the bottom of the blanket and just lay back onto it so that you can feel the blanket supporting your spine all the way from the tip of your tailbone up to your head. So get yourself set up here. I'll give you a moment or two. Today we're going to be looking at the area in and around our hips, releasing tension there, particularly if we sit often or for long periods of time during the day. What tends to happen is the muscles at the front of our hip or deep in our abdominal cavity tend to tighten up or shorten, while the muscles at the back of our hips and in our glutes stretch out and lose some of their strength. So we're going to be exploring the ways in which our hips feel and move today. So once you've got your blanket roll and you are laying down, go ahead and rest your arms on the ground, palms facing up so that your shoulders are externally rotated. And just take a few breaths here, allowing your body to be supported, feeling your spine rest along your blanket. You might also notice the front of your chest begin to release and open as your shoulders melt down around either edge of your blanket roll. Just take a moment to turn inward and notice the experience of being supported here. If you find yourself distracted away by thoughts or sounds, gently release them and come back to the sensation of support. It might be that you notice the points at which your body is being supported and held by your blanket and by the ground beneath you. Or it might be the spaces in which this allows you to relax, release, and open. Bring your attention to your breath. Allow your breath to serve as your guide into your body. Follow your inhale inward and notice the spaces where you experience your in-breath. And feel the release of your full exhale. Slowly begin to deepen your breath so that you are inhaling down your spine into your low belly, almost as if you are directing your breath into your hips, your sit bones. And as you fully exhale, release any tension that arises. As you continue to breathe deeply into these spaces in your body, you might also notice a sense of expansion or a sense of newness as you bring intentionality into breathing into spaces in your body that you might not normally pay attention to. Instead of getting stuck in the unfamiliarity or the emotion that may arise, acknowledge how you feel or what may arise. And then again, release that with your exhale. Allowing yourself to be fully present in the physical experience in your body. Take a few more deep breaths here. And then after your next exhale, gently open your eyes and carefully roll over onto one side to come off of your blanket roll. Set your blanket roll aside and then we'll return back onto our backs. Take a few breaths, noticing the shift in experience laying directly on your mat without your blanket roll there. Notice the points at which your spine is in contact with the mat. And bring some intentionality into the way in which you hold your abdomen and your lower back so that your lower back is gently pressing against the mat, not in a forceful manner, but just so that you're able to feel the support of your mat beneath you all along your spine. Notice the work that it takes to hold your lower back pressing against the mat in this manner. And then on your next inhale, I am going to invite you to release that and lift your lower back up off the mat as if you were arching your back. Notice the way in which your hips tilt to do this. The top front of your hip bones reach up towards the ceiling in this position. As you exhale, once more press your lower back down to the mat. The front tip of your pubic bone will then gently lift slightly towards the ceiling. follow your breath in this manner, inhaling, lifting the lower back slightly up off the mat. Exhaling, pressing it back down to the mat. This movement, while the cue is about your lower back, really is more about the movement of your hips as they rock forward and back. And do this for maybe 1 or 2 more breath cycles. And then gently return to a new line. And carefully hug both knees in towards your chest. You may feel your lower back press into the mat once more in a different manner. Just slowly rock from side to side, noticing this shift in sensation as your body weight shifts. Come back to center and circle your knees together in a circle. Circle in a circle, that makes sense, right? Words. All right, circle in the other direction. Return to center. Make some space between your legs, and I'm actually going to have you circle each knee independently. So they both come towards your center line, away from your body, and then out towards either edge of your mat. Feeling the full range of motion here as you continue in your circles. They might get a little bit wider. Just allow your inner body wisdom to guide you to the outer edge of where your mobility is this morning. And switch the direction of your circle, so both knees will come in towards your chest at the center line, out towards either edge of your mat, away from your body, and then back into center. If at any point your body says yes, pause here. Feel free to pause in your circles and breathe into that spot. And gently return back to center. Bring both feet flat onto your mat. Hands are pressing into your mat at your sides. Lift your upper back so that you can tuck your shoulder blades directly underneath you so that your chest remains open here. As you inhale, press your feet into your mat and slowly roll up into a bridge pose, 1 vertebrae at a time. And this time, I want you to pay attention to the sensation at the front of your hips as you lift up towards the ceiling. And exhale, roll back down to the mat, 1 vertebrae at a time. Again, inhale, lift up, noticing what is happening in and around your hips. And exhale, roll down. On this inhale, rise up and hold your bridge. And up here in your bridge pose, I invite you to explore some movement. What happens to the front of your right hip if you drop your left hip halfway down? And the opposite, what happens to the front of your left hip as you drop your right hip half down? Almost as if you're walking yourself out in your bridge pose. Noticing the shifts in the work of your muscles. As you shift from side to side, where does the work transfer to? What spaces soften as other spaces tone? Come back to center. Lift your hips an inch or two higher towards the ceiling. Notice the sensation in the front of your hips. See if you can't even it out across both of them. And then exhale, roll back down to the mat. Reach for your strap or your towel or your shirt, whatever you might be using as a strap. Bring your right foot in, or your right knee in towards your chest so that you can bring your strap across the bottom of your right foot. And hold it at the bottom of your right foot, right across the ball of your foot. So if you can see right here across kind of the front or top edge of my foot so that the ball of my foot is supported by my strap. So as you're laying here on the ground, your left foot can either be flat on your mat or you can extend your left leg out. This will depend a lot on hamstring flexibility in your right leg, so don't be afraid to adjust as needed. Holding either end of the strap, one in each hand, gently pull the strap downward as if you were trying to bring your toes a little bit closer to your forehead. As you exert this downward pressure on your strap, I don't want you to let your foot collapse down towards you. Press back on the strap so that your foot stays parallel with the ceiling above you. The work is happening in your foot, and this might allow your hamstrings to release and open just a little bit more. As you breathe through this, you might notice that you're able to bring your foot marginally closer down towards your forehead. But I want you to remain mindful of the experience in the back of your leg, particularly up towards your hip. On your next exhale, release that downward pressure from the strap. Your leg is still extended up. Bring both ends of the strap into your right hand. Holding the strap here, rotate your right hip open so that your whole leg shifts. The top of your knee, the front of your ankle, and your toes will all shift to face out toward your right. And then bring them back to center. For the next several breaths, inhale, open your hip, rotating out toward your right. And exhale back to center. It doesn't have to be a big movement. Your inner body wisdom will speak to you through sensation. Allow this sensation to serve as your guide. You are the expert in your body. On your next exhale, return your toes to face back center. And then this time as you exhale, slowly exhale your right foot out toward the ground on your right side. It definitely does not need to touch the floor. Try and keep your left hip planted on your mat. You can extend your left arm out away from your body. You might also decide to bring a block underneath your right thigh once you get to a point that your body is comfortable holding this stretch. Again, direct your breath into the spaces you feel this pose, allowing your inhale to expand, allowing your exhale to help ease into this pose. Keep your right foot flexed, energy shooting out your right heel. Take one more breath here. Exhale completely. As you tone your lower belly, pressing your lower back into your mat, then bring your right foot back up to center. Switch the hand you're holding both ends of the strap with. So now you're holding both ends of your strap with your left hand. Extend your right arm out away from your body. As you inhale, lift your right hip about an inch off your mat. And then exhale, bring your right foot over toward the ground on the left side of your mat. Your right hip will lift up as you continue to twist, but see if you can't keep both your right and left shoulders in contact with your mat. Again, you can use your blocks to place underneath your leg if you would like some support here in holding your stretch. Whereas the other side, we might have become more aware of our inner thigh and inner hip. This one invites us to pay attention to the outer hip. Direct your breath into the spaces that you feel opening and stretching. Exhale fully as you ease maybe a little more into this pose. Tone your low belly. And then inhale, bring your right foot back up to center. Go ahead and bend your right knee, bringing it in towards your chest. Release the strap from your foot. Extend both feet out. Take a moment to just check in with your body here on your mat. Notice the differences in the right and left sides. Where do you feel the echoes of work and movement? Which areas might still need to open a little bit more? And bring your left knee in towards your chest so that you may bring your strap across the bottom of your left foot. Right across the ball of your foot in the same manner you did on your right, so that you may extend your leg up. Pulling gently downward on your strap to create the opportunity for the ball of your foot to press against the strap. Keeping your foot flexed and parallel to the ceiling above you. Pull downward gently on your strap as if you were trying to bring your toes maybe a little bit closer in toward your forehead. Notice the spaces in which you are experiencing this pose. Direct your breath there. Release the downward pressure on your strap and bring both ends into your left hand. Beginning at your left hip, rotate your leg open out toward the left side. So your knee, the front of your ankle, and the tips of your toes will begin to face out toward your left. And release back to center. Follow your breath for several cycles, inhaling and rotating open. Exhaling, returning to center. Noticing the spaces in and around your hips that make themselves known in this motion. And do one more. Return back to center. And as you exhale, toning your lower belly, keeping both hips in contact with the mat, bring your left leg out toward the ground on your left side. This is a controlled motion. So don't let your leg collapse down. Feel free to bring your blocks underneath your left thigh to help support this pose. You can also lower your left elbow down towards the ground to slightly support. Listen to your inner body wisdom as it speaks to you through the sensation you are currently feeling. Direct your breath into and through those spaces, allowing your inhale to expand, to invigorate, and your exhale to invite you to ease a little deeper into this pose. And take one more deep breath in here. As you exhale, tone your lower belly and bring your left foot back up to center. Switch the hand you're holding both ends of the strap with. Extend your left arm out away from your body. Lift your left hip about an inch up off the ground, and then exhale. Bring your left foot over toward the ground on your right side. Notice the spaces in and around the outer edge of your hip that experience this. Keep your left foot flexed and pressing into the strap at the ball of your foot here. Depending on the areas in which you are stronger or more flexible, this might be a sharper experience or sharper sensation. I invite you to remain connected to the sensation you experience. Oftentimes, our natural instinct is to disconnect so that we don't experience as much discomfort or pain. But in staying connected to this sensation, not only do you have the opportunity to learn more about your body, it also helps build resilience so that when we meet challenges in the outer world, we are able to sit with them a little bit longer with a calmer mind. Take one more breath here. As you exhale, tone your belly and bring your left foot back up towards center. Release the strap from your foot. You can set it aside for now. Extend your left foot out and down to the ground. And take another moment or two here to just feel what is happening in your body. Where are the echoes of movement, the buzz of energy? On your next exhale, gently open your eyes. Roll over onto one side as a means to bring yourself up into a seated position. Move as slowly as you need to in order to allow your body to reestablish equilibrium now that you're upright. Bring your hands to your knees. We're going to do a seated cat-cow here. So as you inhale, draw your heart forward. Keep the back of your neck broad, but direct your gaze upward. Exhale, round your back out behind you. Tuck your chin. While we might be focusing on our hips, everything is connected. So if you notice as you release tension in your hips, as you build mobility there, other areas of your body might make up for that by tensing back up. So it's important to also allow the opportunity for release here as well. And do one more. After your next exhale into seated cat pose, return to a neutral spine. Bring your right hand to the floor behind you, your left hand to your right knee. Exhale into a gentle twist. Bring your gaze over your right shoulder behind you. Breathing along your spine down into your sit bones. Allow your inhale to be a reminder to lengthen your spine out the top of your head, and your exhale to sink into the sensation of your twist. On your next exhale, gently return back to center. And let's do the other side. Bring your left hand to the floor behind you, your right hand over to your left knee. Exhale into your twist. Bring your gaze over your back shoulder. On your inhale, imagine your spine lengthening up out the top of your head. And allow your exhale to be an invitation into the experience of your twist. Sink your shoulders down away from your ears. And on your next exhale, return back to center. Come forward onto all fours into a table pose on your mat. And for the next several breaths, as you exhale, draw your hips back towards your heels as if you were coming into child's pose. Inhale, rise back up to your table pose. Just rock back and forth here for a moment. Noticing as you do the shifts that happen in your hips. Where is opening? Where might be toning? On your next inhale, return to table. Tuck your toes under and then exhale up into a downward facing dog. In your downward facing dog, I want you to focus on pressing your hands down into your mat with strength that travels up your arms, all along your spine and into your hips, which are reaching up and away as if they were responsible for lengthening your spine. Allow your knees to remain soft. And bring some movement into your downward dog, walking your feet out and really allowing your hips to move around with that shift in weight. Really rest in the experience of that shift from side to side, of that movement. Return back to center. On your inhale, float your right heel up towards the sky. And then exhale, draw your knee in and step it between your hands at the front of your mat into a low lunge. You may place blocks underneath your hands if you would like to. This may make the floor feel a little more accessible to you here. Take a few breaths here, really resting in the experience in the front of your left hip. If you'd like to, you can lower your left knee down to your mat. On your inhale, float your right arm out toward the side and then reach the fingertips up towards the ceiling, coming into a twist. Reaching your fingertips up. Oftentimes when we twist here, our focus is in and around our heart, but I want you to notice what takes place at your left hip here. Where is working and where is opening? Exhale, bring your right arm back down to the mat. With your hands either on your mat or your blocks beneath your hands and your left leg down. Hi, Piggy. Oh, thank you for kisses. As you exhale, shift your hips back toward your left heel behind you. Your right leg may lengthen out to varying degrees, depending on hamstring flexibility. Mine are not feeling very flexible this morning, and that is okay. Inhale, shift your weight forward once more, noticing the stretch come back into the front of your left hip. Let's do that one more time. Exhale, draw the hips back toward your left heel, lengthening your right leg out in front of you to any degree. And then inhale forward, noticing the front of your left hip. You may stay here for a few breaths or bring both hands up to your knee to bring that stretch deeper into the front of your left hip and your lower abdomen. You might even choose to inhale, bring your arms up towards the ceiling. Exhale, bring both hands back down to your mat. Lift your left knee off the ground and step back into a downward facing dog. Imagine your spine lengthening by reaching your hips up and away towards that spot behind you where the wall and the ceiling meet. Walk your feet out. You might notice differences in sensation and experience in the right and left sides of your body. Come back to center. Inhale, float your left heel up towards the sky if you've got the room behind you. My feet are becoming very familiar with the piping on the wall here. It's okay. I haven't kicked anything yet. And then as you exhale, draw your knee in toward your chest and step your left foot between your hands, coming into a low lunge on this side. You can bring blocks under your hands again to make the floor more accessible, or you can keep your hands on your mat. You can also lower your right knee down if you'd like. Just notice here the experience in the front of your right hip. Press your right hand down into your block or your mat. And as you inhale, sweep your left arm, reaching your fingertips away from your body, out to the side and then up towards the ceiling. As you hold this twist, really notice the spaces in and around your right hip. Which areas are toning and working? Which areas are opening or softening? And then exhale back down to the mat. Good. For your next several breaths, as you exhale, shift your hips back toward your right heel. Lengthen out your left leg to whatever degree feels nourishing. Inhale, shift your weight forward. Notice the stretch and opening come back into the front of your left hip. Again, exhale back. Inhale forward. Let's do one more. You may choose to stay here and breathe into the front of your left hip. If you'd like, you can bring both hands up to your right knee, lifting your heart up and forward. Or you might even inhale your fingertips up towards the sky. And exhale down. Bring your hands back to your mat or your blocks. Lift your right knee up off your mat and step back into a downward facing dog. Once more, walk your dog out And really invite your hips to shift and move from side to side as you walk out your downward dog. Notice the experience here. Notice what may have shifted. And then bring your weight back to center. Bring both knees down towards your mat and exhale back into a child's pose. Choose whichever form of child's pose feels most accessible to you. You might bring a block underneath your forehead. Your arms might reach out in front of you, away from your body. You might also feel more nourishment or more introspective rest if your arms are down at your sides. Don't be afraid to explore here. The idea that there is a right or wrong in yoga is completely false. It is up to each of us to find that for ourselves. Take one or two more deep breaths here. If you've got a block under your forehead, gently move it aside for a moment. Walk both hands out in front of you and then over to the left side of your mat. Reach your right hip down toward the ground, allowing your right side body to stretch and lengthen all the way from under your right shoulder in the area of your armpit down to your right hip. Breathe into the sensation. Your next exhale, return to center, and then walk both hands over to the right side of your mat. Shift your left hip down toward the ground on your left side. And breathe into your left side body. On your next exhale, come back to center. Walk your hands in and come up to a seated position. Before we come into Shavasana, we're going to use our blocks for a short exercise. You're going to set your blocks up on the ground at a diagonal shape so that the short edges form kind of a V shape. So you're going to set them on your mat, and then you're going to sit on top of it. So your sit bones, the round sit bones that you feel if you poke around back there a little bit, are going to drape right over the edge of these blocks. So it takes a little bit of adjusting. You might feel a little silly. It's okay. Depending on how wide your hips are, the corners of the blocks may touch or you may move them further apart. But you will know when you sit in the right spot because it will definitely feel sharp. So we're using the edges of these blocks to help release further tension in our hips. It's going to feel a little awkward because your sit bones are literally hanging over the front edge of the block. So once you find a spot where you're like, yeah, I feel that, you're probably there. You can rest your hands on your knees and just take the next several breaths to rock back and forth, noticing how as you shift, the sensation will move and change. You might also rock from side to side here. Again, as I said before, sometimes when we experience sharp sensation, the natural instinct of our brain is to disconnect from that experience. We are naturally wired to move away from discomfort or pain and towards pleasure. So if you notice that it is harder for you to remain mindful of the experience your body is having, be gentle in your encouragement of yourself to reconnect to this experience. If you notice or hit a spot that's particularly sharp, feel free to pause and breathe into that. I also invite you to be mindful of whether there are other areas in your body that are tensing up to make up for the sharp experience in and around your hips right now. Take 1 or 2 more breaths here. So if you've been focusing on one side or predominantly leaned forward, do whatever the opposite is. Slowly return to center. And we're going to keep the blocks in the same formation, but we're going to lay down on top of them. So you can just roll backwards if you're facing the long way on your mat. Instead, I'm going to have to shift right here. So if you're sitting on the blocks like this, you're just going to not get tangled in the mic wire, and then slowly bring yourself into a reclined position. You might want to adjust the block slightly. So now your sitting bones are resting on top of the block, and everything in your hip above that is draping over and down towards your mat. You can hold your blocks in place if, like mine, they want to pop out and slide away. Hug your knees in towards your chest, and then gently move them out away from your body. You can circle your knees around in one way and then the other. Again, just exploring where the sensation takes place. As you shift your weight around, what is the experience of those pressure points? What might you be releasing here? And what might that be making room for? Stay connected to the sensation in your body. Relax any other areas that might be tensing up. Take 2 more breaths here. On your second exhale, gently bring your feet back down to your mat. Lift your hips so that you may gently remove your blocks from underneath you and just return down to your mat. Take a moment here to notice the experience of the absence of the blocks. In some ways, it might feel like they are still there. If you need to readjust for Shavasana, feel free to do so at this time. Finding a position that your body is comfortable releasing into for a moment of rest. As we enter into this period of rest, notice the echo of movement and work slowly begin to ebb and flow away. Sinking deeper and deeper into who you are in this moment. Allow your body to become heavy and sink into the ground beneath you. Perfectly held and supported in this moment. Allowing yourself to be soft and open to what this moment might have for you. And to remain open to what each next moment also has for you. Allow your breath to happen naturally. Beginning at the crown of your head, gently and slowly scan through your body, releasing any areas of tension that you may still be holding on to. And in releasing that tension, noticing the areas that allows to remain open or soft, where you feel or notice the buzz of energy. Using that sense of energy to inform how you will greet the day ahead of you. And knowing that while we each are practicing separately and on our own, there are others out there also feeling this buzz, connecting us each in our practice. Reminding us each that we are not alone, that we are still together, still sharing this experience. You may continue to lie in Shavasana for as long as you feel called to. If you are ready to bring your practice to an end right now, and gently roll your body over onto one side to allow yourself the grace to come out of this slowly, so that you may continue to feel and absorb all that was offered and gained. As your body slowly prepares to come into the rest of your day here, gently open your eyes. And when you are ready, carefully bring yourself up into a seated position. Bringing your hands to your heart or holding them in prayer, whatever feels most nourishing to you in this moment. Take a moment to feel gratitude for the space that you have created for yourself in this practice today. To notice what feels lighter or more open. And how you will continue to cultivate that throughout your day today. Thank you so much for allowing me to guide you in this practice today. And I will hopefully see you soon. Piggy the yoga dog.
Piggy the yoga dog, that's you.
Everybody should practice yoga with a dog.